I want to start my MMA journey. My palms and soles sweat like hell. Is it something which I have to worry about? That's some supernova. Well, I got to tell you something. It's actually an interesting question, because people get really nervous and scared about stuff. And like I'm watching this cooking show. And like I watch a lot of cooking shows. My wife and daughter, they love these cooking shows. And there was this cooking show. It's called Master Chef. And they had this young 20-year-old and he was cooking, and it was like a very competitive cooking where you have a clock and the clock is ticking and they're telling you what to do, and you gotta chop the onions, you gotta boil this water, you gotta cook this steak, it's incredibly entertaining. But this one young kid, 20 years old, because the competition was so intense, and we're talking cooking, he fainted. Now I can tell you, this kid is like, he was like borderline like a woman, like you could tell by his mannerisms, the way he talks, he was very effeminate, very effeminate. Now I'm not holding that against him, okay? I don't know if he was, I don't know if that was like ingrained in him or he was born that way. Like I'm just telling you, the guy was very delicate. That's the nicest way I can put it, okay? He seems like a very delicate human being. And because certain things weren't done, like the carrots or I don't know what, his dough wasn't right or whatever, he fainted. And I was like, wow, man, that's crazy. Could you imagine if that guy had like to compete in a fight? Imagine that we had to glove this guy up and put him in a cage. Like, imagine we had to give this guy a weapon. Imagine he had to defend his country. Imagine we're like, hey man, we gotta go 25 clicks that way. The enemy's that way, and they're invading us. We gotta put these bullets in them. I think he would just like evaporate. I think he would just die. He would have a heart attack and die. It's insane. Like for me, it's like, you're on a cooking show, dude. You're on a cooking show. Relax. It's just boiling water. It's just like kneading dough. It's not that important. It's not that colossal. That's why I think it's really important when your kids are young, put them in sports. It doesn't have to be wrestling, but wrestling is a great one. Wrestling, when people are trying to throw you on the floor, choke you, jiu-jitsu, people are boxing. Like, I don't like young kids in boxing because it blows to the head. It's not good for brain development, but wrestling and jiu-jitsu is great. Like, I make my kids do a lot of wrestling and jiu-jitsu. When people are throwing you on the floor, jumping on you, trying to choke you, trying to wrap their arm, like, you can handle life later. Life is not so tricky. Life is not so intimidating. A cooking show is just like a fun little hobby we have. It's not so colossal in our minds. We're used to looking a man in his eye and then fighting him. It's a whole different level of psychological development. It's just that when you live on a silk pillow, all of a sudden, if your water is not boiling fast enough, that's too much pressure and I can't take it. So I would blame your parents. If you're going to train in MMA and you're sweaty and your parents they didn't toughen you up for the world. They didn't toughen you up for the world. Like my kids, my sons, I'm quite tough with them. Why? Because I know the world's going to try to crush them. I know the world's going to give them obstacles. I know the world's going to make them struggle. I know the world's going to be tough on them. Well, I want their psyche to be rock solid. So that's why my kids, I kind of torture them in a certain way. Not physically torture them, but I give them challenges. I give them obstacles. I light a fire under their ass. Believe me, I do. I tell them, you got to get this done. You got to get that done. Can you handle it? Yes, sir. And it's just like in a healthy, balanced way. There's always the father out there that goes too far and hurts his kid. That's just absurd. You got to be sensible. It's got to be also done with love and tenderness and friendship even. Very important in a positive light. However, you got to teach your sons to be tough, because if you don't, the world will make them suffer. I'm telling you. When people see somebody who's tough, they avoid. They like, oh, that guy's too much. That guy's too difficult to mess with. Even if I could mess with him, it's just too dangerous. I might get, the probability of me coming out without a scratch is very low. Leave that guy be. Let's go pick on this other easy target. Bullies love easy targets. Don't let your children be easy targets. And it starts from young. Like my daughter, I toughen her up too, but not the same level. Not the same level. I want her to be tough. I want her to be independent. I want her to be strong. However, it's not the same thing as a man, because the world puts so much more pressure on a man. They expect you they expect you to lift the heaviest of boulders. And as a man, that's what you should do. You got to do it. That's the truth. That's a sad truth. It's not a sad truth. I think it's a good truth. I'd rather be the one who suffers than my wife and daughter. That's for sure. I'd rather me and my son suffer than my wife and daughter. I just think that's the way of the world. And if you're the type of man who can't take a beating, can't take some suffering, I think you're also going to have a lot of trouble with the opposite sex. Not only are you going to have trouble in life, in your career, in your endeavors, just such as like people tell me, I'm too nervous to go into an MMA gym. Well, I blame your parents. Your parents were either unwise or negligent. You got to teach your children how to overcome obstacles. It's your parental duty. Now, your parents maybe didn't do it, so now, you're looking out for help, and I'm going to tell you, like, martial arts is one of the top ways to go about it. Martial arts is one of the top ways to go about it. But team sports are also great. Team sports, join a soccer league, join a baseball league, learn to compete, learn to have the ups and downs, learn to see, how, under pressure, maybe there's 2 outs and you're the one throwing the pitch, or the ball's coming your way, you need to make this catch to win. Like, you're going to learn to deal with pressure. And you're going to learn to deal with mistakes. And you're going to learn to survive another day. That's a major lesson in life. And I wish that all of you out there start at a young age. It's very important to start at a young age. Learn to deal with adversity. Adversity will come, my friends. Adversity will come. That's no doubt. You look at Alex Pereira. He lost his first MMA match. Like, I was looking at his topology. His first MMA match. He lost it, man. Isn't that insane? The man lost his first MMA match. Let me tell you who beat him, okay? He's 11-2. He's lost a few kickboxing matches, okay? But he lost his first MMA match against some guy named Otoni, a Brazilian, who's 12-13. And you guys never heard of him. He lost to a guy who never reached. Imagine. Alex Pereira loses by rear naked choke his first fight. He might be in the locker room like, man, I'm not cut out for this. Or he's tough enough to overcome endeavors and becomes arguably the greatest UFC champion of all time. Arguably. Okay, I wouldn't put him up there personally, but you can make an argument that he won 2 divisions in the shortest amount of time, which is insane. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap this up very, very shortly. Please, no more super chats.